Welcome back to week 9 of the DSR channel, and we are covering the new book that was just released this morning, Forgotten Realms: Heroes of Faerun, and I'm covering the subclasses now. So we're going to go over the Knowledge Domain Cleric, and I think it's a thumbs up as well. This one's good. First up, flavor text. I'm only going to read the flavor text from the Heroes of Faerun, the new book, but this subclass was released in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and so I'm going to be comparing it back to that book, or that version, between the two. But I'm mostly only going to read the new book's content, okay? I don't want to bore you with reading the old content. So, Knowledge Cleric Domain. Unearth secrets and master of the mind. The knowledge domain values learning and understanding above all. Clerics who tap into this domain study esoteric lore, collect old tomes, delve into secret places, and examine the processes of the mind. To them, knowledge is more valuable than material wealth, and learning is an act of worship. Libraries, universities, and other educational institutions also draw on the power of the knowledge domain. The gods of knowledge vary from masters of arcane magic to patrons of craft and invention. In Faerun, clerics of the knowledge domain worship deities of learning and ingenuity such as Ogma and Gond, among many others. So this is great flavor text. I think flavor text is helpful to help give us an idea of what the idea of this subclass or whatever the content is about. Now, always keep in mind that flavor is free, so you can always reflavor this however you like, right? Um, but if you look at the 2014 version, it listed several other gods, and I wish that they had included a additional paragraph under this one to list those off as well. I get that Ogma and Gond are the only ones of all of those that they listed in 2014. Those are the only ones from the Forgotten Realms, and this book is for Forgotten Realms. But they could have just had another section that said, and in other settings, it would include Bokob and Gillian and Orion and Nathoth. They could have included all those because not everybody plays in Forgotten Realms all the time. I mean, it's my preferred setting, that in Planescape, at least until Dark Sun comes out. But yeah, just help other people in other settings make this feel more accessible to all of them as well. At level 3, we get Blessings of Knowledge. You gain proficiency with one type of artisan tools of your choice and two of the following skills of your choice: Arcana, History, Nature, or Religion, and you have expertise with those two skills. So in the 2014 Player's Handbook version, we got two languages, and then the same thing, expertise with two of those skills. Now they phrase it differently. They were still kind of figuring out expertise in the language, how they wanted that to work. They've solidified around a consistent set of language for expertise now. So the language changed just a little bit, but it's the same thing. You have expertise in those two skills, which is cool. I think it's great. Unfortunately, I think a lot of DMs rarely call for these kinds of ability checks, which is a bummer, because these are a great opportunity to really show utility and the impact of a knowledgeable character, which a lot of characters can be. And one of the base features of clerics and druids is both to have knowledge about their respective nature or religion and arcana. So a little DM advice here: whenever the party encounters monsters, give them a free roll. And there's a table in Tasha's Cauldron from Everything that says, here's the ability, here's the skill that's relevant that might give knowledge about these kinds of creatures, this creature type. Have them roll for free, no action required, that ability. And if they roll, I don't know, 10, just make some numbers, right? I usually do something like, if they roll 10, I'll give them the creature type. If they roll like a 15 as a group check or higher, I'll give them the creature type and the stat block name. And if they roll like 18, I'll give them the CR number of the creature, right? And I'll phrase it as, well, this and this, and there's a certain level of difficulty, and that means CR this, right? You flavor it, role play it, but yeah, the characters would have an idea of, oh, how dangerous is that for us, okay? So yeah, try to, it's easy to find opportunities to make all of these skills relevant, and they're super cool and fun. So do that. I am a little bit bummed that they removed the language choices. I also love language. I play with languages. I enforce language. So if you don't speak the language of the creature, then you can't talk to them. Um, because those are some of the best role play moments I've ever had, is making the player characters play charades. Now, I don't have the actual player stand up and play Pictionary or charades or things like that. I have have them role play their characters playing charades, and then I have them roll a performance check or a sleight of hand maybe. in order to convey what they're trying to say to the other creature. And then I have them roll insight when the creature signs back to them to see if they try to configure out if they can figure out what that other creature is trying to communicate. Great opportunity to use more ability checks, right? And frankly, the way that all works out, performance ends up being one of the higher value skills of all the skills in the game. Now I still call more perception for more perception checks and more survival checks, but performance is up there. Also at level 3, knowledge domain spells, right? So we got this before, it was at level 1 before, but you only get your subclass now at level 3, so it's the equivalent. And they added some spells. They also gave us more spells. So at level 3, we get 6 spells instead of 4, which would have been the equivalent that we gotten before, and they're better. So we got command, which is what we had before. We have identify, which is what we had before at first level. And then there was augury and suggestion. Both of those have been replaced. And suggestion is a great one. Augury is a good ritual. But at first level, we're also getting, in addition, comprehend languages, detect magic, which I always question, like, why didn't they just have that? Like, those make sense for knowledge to me. So great to see those added. Detect thoughts. It's kind of, yeah, that's okay. I know a lot of people like it. That one, I don't love that spell. I love the idea of that spell, but it never goes off like the way you'd hope. But that's cool. It's fine. And it actually replaces one of the level 6 ability that the old um, knowledge domain cleric got in the 2014 player's handbook. So it's just that whole ability is just replaced by having detect thoughts. So that's great. Mind spike. It's nice to have a second level like single target blast spell or single target range damage spell. Mind Spike's an okay one. It's not a great one, but it does give you knowledge of wherever they go for the whole hour, as long as you maintain concentration, which makes sense for the knowledge domain. So that's okay. Then we get Dispel Magic, Non-Detection, and Tongues. So before we had Non-Detection and just Speak with Dead. And I think that's great. Tongues makes sense here. Dispel Magic is a good one to have. I think every single spell list has Dispel Magic on it. But it's nice to have it always auto prepared for us because it is one you want to have available. And Tongues is a great one, makes sense, very thematic here. Now, some of these have asterisks on them, and it says Spell of the Divination School. I'm going to come back to that, so just keep that in mind. Arcane Eye, we had that before, and that's a good one, great for scouting. Banishment, that's a new one, as is, when we also have Confusion, which we had before. Banishment's a solid spell. It's a good control spell. So is Confusion. They both have, things that are better for than the other. So it's nice to have both of those. And you don't really have access. You don't have access to Confusion as a cleric. You do have access to Banishment, if I recall correctly. So, but it's nice to have that one auto prepared. Legend Lore is one of those very niche spells that we get at our 5th level spells for 9th level when we're 9th level in this class. And Scrying is a solid scouting spell to really see what's going on at a far distance. And then Synaptic Static. Now, that one is a banger to add to the cleric spell list because they do not have very good blast spells. At level 5, they get Strike, which is an okay blast. Is like a weaker version of Fireball, except it scales better after 5th level, and it does some radiant damage. So Flame Strike is okay. Synaptic Static is way better. That has the same amount of damage as Fireball, scales the same as Fireball, but also adds a pretty strong control effect. And Synaptic Static is an intelligence saving throw. So really great spells to be adding to your spell list. Plus, they added all these knowledge spells that you think you should have, but you weren't like penalized by them because you just got more spells, right? You get basically 3 at every single level. Is that right? You got 4 first level spells, 2 second level spells, and then 3 third, 3 fourth, and 3 fifth level spells. So you got more spells. You didn't feel like you were losing out because you have all these divination knowledge spells. You just got other spells on top of that. And I would flavor this, like the command spell, the synaptic static, the confusion, banishment. I would flavor that because those are enchantment spells, like messing with other people's minds. But I would flavor it as you have this knowledge about just the right thing to say or do to cause that effect on these people, right? You gain the knowledge of the exact command word to use that would cause this person to react that way. You gain the knowledge of the exact thing to do, like like parents who like to kiss in front of their kids and cause maximum emotional damage, right? That's you casting the confusion spell on your children, right? So that kind of stuff is how I would flavor them having these abilities. All right, and your other 3rd level feature is called Mind Magic, and this is your Channel Divinity additional option you have for Channel Divinity. As a magic action, you can expend 1 use of your Channel Divinity to manifest your magical knowledge. Choose 1 spell from the Divination School on the Knowledge Domain Spells table that you have prepared. As part of that action, you cast a spell without expending a spell slot or needing material components. So that's why there's the asterisk there. So basically, any of those spells that has an asterisk next to it, you can cast that spell for free by expending a channel divinity. And you start off with 2. Level 6, you get 3, and then what? Level 14, I think it is. You now have 4, and they come back 1 on a short rest. So you've got quite a, that's a nice resource pool of being able to cast a lot of additional spells. Now, all these spells are knowledge based, but not all of them, most of them, because Mind Spike is an attack spell. So you could be using your Channel Divinity to cast Mind Spike. Now, your Channel Divinity is going to cast it at its lowest level, so you can't get the benefit of the upcast of Mind Spike. But at lower levels, it's still going to feel better to, do some decent damage with your Mind Spike. Or decent damage with your Channel Divinity by casting Mind Spike with it. I don't know that I would use my Channel Divinity to cast Mind Spike at higher levels, but this essentially gives you several additional spell slots, and that comes back on a short rest. And you could use it to cast 5th level spells, Scrying and Legend Lore. So that's pretty good. And this feature replaced the feature called Knowledge of the Ages from the 2014 Player's Handbook, which essentially you would spend your Channel Divinity and you would just gain a one skill proficiency or tool for 10 minutes, which was not great. It was okay, but then they came out with this Borrowed Knowledge spell, which does the exact same thing for a 2nd level spell slot and lasts an hour. And I think they missed a real opportunity to just put Borrowed Knowledge on that spell list for the knowledge domain. And then you could be using your Channel Divinity to also just cast Borrowed Knowledge, and you'd get a tool proficiency for an hour. That would have made more sense than I think Detect Thoughts. Like, Detect Thoughts is weird to me on here. But so is Mind Spike. And I think I'd rather have had Borrowed Knowledge than Mind Spike or Detect Thoughts. That would have fit better to the theme, and I think would have been more useful. But I don't think it's bad. It's okay, like what they came up with, and it's certainly better than the 3rd level features, 2nd and 3rd level features you got in the 2014 Player's Handbook. And then going all the way up to level 6, from Heroes of Faerun, the new version, we have Unfettered Mind. You gain telepathy out to 60 feet. When you use this telepathy, you can simultaneously contact a number of creatures equal to your Wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. Additionally, you gain proficiency in intelligence saving throws. If you already have this proficiency, you instead gain saving throw proficiency with one ability in which you lack it. Okay, so the 2014 Player's Handbook version was Read Thoughts, which was basically like casting Detect Thoughts. So now you just have Detect Thoughts on your spell list. So I'd rather have that spell than this feature, because this feature was a big wall of text, and it just worked the same as Detect Thoughts, except that you could end the Detect Thoughts, and when you end it early, and cast Suggestion as a replacement, which was kind of cool, I guess. But you would end it as an action, so basically that was 2 actions to cast Suggestion. So it wasn't a great ability, and for me, the flavor of reading minds and being like telepathic isn't a great fit for the knowledge domain. But maybe you just flavor it as you're not actually reading their minds, but their thoughts are floating out into the ether, and you're able to pick up on that knowledge that's out in the ether, and that's how you're reading what they're thinking, is you're actually just picking it up as it's leaving their minds. So I guess you could find your way to making that work. The new version, the new ability, is much better. But one point on the side there for this is the Scion. Come on, guys. This is better telepathy than any of the Scions get, even the Telepath. The Telepath is the only Scion that gets 60 feet of telepathy, and it's only with 1 creature at a time. So we have the Cleric, who's a better Telepath than the Telepath Scion. I hope they figure that out, guys. Come on. All right. But in telepathy, I don't love telepathy overall anyway, because it kind of like makes the whole situation, the whole issue of language and speaking the same language, just go away, right? For the whole party. Because now you have one person who can speak telepathically to anybody, and that person just translates all the time now. I guess there's still some roleplay opportunity if that person's not the face, because that can still be pretty funny, where you have the barbarian or the cleric who's like dumped their charisma and has no proficiency in any charisma social skills, and they're the ones who have to do all the talking for the party. I mean, that could be pretty funny. It's anyway, removes a lot of opportunity for role play and flavor and world building that comes with languages. Okay, but the more powerful and more useful part of this feature is the proficiency in intelligence saving throws, which is cool because as a cleric, you're going to start with wisdom and charisma proficiency. And so adding intelligence to that is nice. It rounds out your mental stat proficiency, so you're going to be proficient with all the mental stat saving throws. But even more interesting is that it says if you already have proficiency in intelligence saving throws, you can choose something else, anything else that you want, right? And this doesn't get you ahead if you've taken like resilient intelligence at 4th level, because you still spent a feat on getting a proficiency, and you could have just chosen constitution with that one, right? Instead of taking intelligence and then using this to get constitution. So that doesn't put you ahead. But what would put you ahead is if you start off as a druid, right? So level 1, you're a druid, which is also a wisdom-based full spellcaster. You're going to pick up some additional proficiencies, and I would go, what is it called? The one that gives you the extra, basically boost to your Arcana and Nature skill checks. It's your Primal Order, but I forget. It's not the Warden. It's the other one. And I would go with that one. You get an extra cantrip. Anyway, so Druids start off and they're proficient with Intelligence and Wisdom. Okay, so that way, then switch to Cleric. Now you're going to double up on your Wisdom spell casting. You're going to take Protector as your Divine Order, so you're going to get proficiency with your martial weapons and your heavy armor. And then you go to level 6 with Cleric, so you're now a level 7 character, and you already have proficiency in Intelligence, and you use this to get proficiency with Constitution. Now you're proficient with Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom without spending a feat on it. That would be nice. That's a good multi-class combo right there. All right, moving up to level 17. We're nearing the end here, or this is the end. So level 17, we get Divine Foreknowledge. As a bonus action, you can magically expand your mind to the future. For 1 hour, you have advantage on all D20 tests. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. You can also restore your use of this feature by expending a level 6 plus spell slot. No action required. So that's awesome. Thematic, like you have knowledge of the future, getting advantage on all of your D20 tests is awesome. This is basically like 90% or 75% of what you get from the Foresight spell, which is a 9th level spell. And you're getting this as 1 hour per day for free. And then for a 6th level spell slot, you can do it again. The only thing that Foresight gives you is that Foresight also gives you that enemies have disadvantage to attack you. Okay, that's the only thing you're not getting with this. And Foresight lasts 8 hours. I think this is awesome. Awesome, powerful, thematic, useful. I like it. Easy to use. Just you're gonna have advantage on all of those saving throws now, on top of all 3 proficiencies, saving throw proficiencies. You're gonna have advantage on all your attacks if you want to use attacks. This is great. Ability checks. You're suddenly like, if you get just like persuasion and stealth, you're suddenly like an A-level scout and an A-level face of the party. Awesome. The 2014 feature was not great. It was not good at all. It's a very long wall of text, and basically all it amounts to is you can like psychically read objects and areas, and was more of a plot device than a character feature. And that's the real downside of it. It's a plot device. So, because it didn't do anything unless the DM had prepared some sort of like, oh, out of that object, I had this idea of what you're going to get from it, and that's going to move the plot forward. So this is way better, slam dunk. And overall, I think they did well with this. I was worried when I saw the UA for it, and it was like a very psionic kind of focused cleric domain, which to me doesn't work well. Maybe if they come up with a mind domain cleric, because in the 2nd edition there was one of the spheres, they had called them spheres, not domains, and you had multiple. One of the spheres was the mind sphere. And so if they make a mind domain, and maybe that's clerics who are like devoted to the god of illithids and things like that, then they could make that one psionic. But I didn't like the idea of tying psionics to the knowledge domain cleric. And so I'm glad that they backed off on that. And I think what they came up with is great. I really like this, and I think this is going to be a solid subclass to play. I think it'd be fun and useful, and it's a winner. So thumbs up on this one. Great job. Thanks for watching. Hope to catch you next time.